Heal Your Inner Child, the Trauma Recovery Workbook to overcome anxious attachment, stop self-sabotage, and reparent yourself with compassion by Daphne Reyes. Introduction. In 1911, a 4-year-old boy named John stood in a grand, quiet house in London. He was wearing a stiff collar and a wool suit that felt a bit too tight. He wasn't looking at his mother or his father. In this house, parents were like distant stars, bright and important, but too far away to touch. Instead, John was looking at the woman packing a heavy brown trunk. Her name was Minnie. She was his nanny, and for every day of his life, she had been the person who wiped his knees when he fell and sang to him when the room got too dark. The clock on the wall ticked toward the hour. In 60 minutes, a horse and carriage would arrive. Minnie would get into that carriage, and she would be gone forever. In the world of the English upper class, nannies were like seasonal fruit. They came and they went. But to John, this wasn't a change in staff. It was the end of the world. He felt a cold, heavy lump forming in his stomach. He didn't have the words to say, "If you leave, I won't know if I'm safe." He only knew that the ticking clock was counting down the moments until his heart broke. When the door finally shut and the carriage wheels rolled away over the cobblestones, something inside John changed. He grew up to be a very famous doctor and psychiatrist named John Bowlby. He spent the rest of his life trying to figure out why that 1 hour in 1911 mattered so much. He wanted to know why a loss that happened to a 4-year-old could still hurt a 40-year-old. He discovered that our earliest bonds aren't just memories. They are the blueprints for how we love, how we work, and how we feel about ourselves when we are all alone. The Ghost in the Glass Office. Fast forward to a sunny Tuesday in Austin, Texas. Elena Rodriguez is 34 years old, and she is very good at her job. She sits in a beautiful office with glass walls that look out over the city. She is a senior marketing manager for a big tech company. To anyone looking in from the outside, Elena has made it. She is smart, she is fast, and she is the person everyone goes to when a project is falling apart. At 2:15 p.m., an email pops up on her screen. It's from her boss. It says, "Hey Elena, I looked at the draft for the new campaign. I have a few notes. Can we chat tomorrow morning?" In an instant, the successful adult named Elena vanishes. Her heart starts to hammer against her ribs like a trapped bird. Her hands turn cold. That heavy, sinking feeling, the same one John Bowlby felt in 1911, washes over her. She doesn't see a simple request for a meeting. She sees a disaster. Her brain starts screaming, "You messed up. He's disappointed. You're going to get fired. Everyone will find out you don't know what you're doing." Elena spends the next 7 hours at her desk. She ignores 3 texts from a man she's been seeing because she's too afraid to be distracted. She rewrites the entire campaign from scratch, her eyes burning from the glow of the monitor. She isn't working because she's inspired. She is working because she is terrified. Inside the body of this 34-year-old executive, a 7-year-old girl is running the show. That little girl remembers a mother who only gave out hugs when the report card showed all A's. She remembers the silent treatment that followed a B. To that little girl, a chat about notes feels like being sent away. Elena is living in what we call a haunted house. The house is her body, and the ghosts are the old fears that never got to grow up. You might feel like Elena sometimes. Maybe you don't work in a glass office, but you know that drop in your stomach. Maybe you feel it when your partner takes too long to text back. Maybe you feel it when you walk into a party and think everyone is judging what you're wearing. You might tell yourself to just relax or stop being so sensitive, but it doesn't work. That is because your brain has an internal thermostat. Think about a house. If you grow up in a place where the heater is always broken and the rooms are freezing, your body gets used to the cold. You learn to wear 3 sweaters and never take your boots off. If someone moves you to a warm, sunny beach, you don't suddenly feel comfortable. You feel weird. You keep looking for your sweaters. You wonder when the blizzard is coming. If you grew up in a cold, emotional house, a place where you were ignored, criticized, or had to be perfect to be loved, your internal thermostat was set to survival mode. Now that you are an adult, even when things are going well, it is still using those same old tools to protect you today. The problem is that those tools, the people-pleasing, the hiding, the constant worrying, are now the very things making you miserable. The truth about the never enough syndrome. In the 1990s, two doctors named Vincent Felitti and Robert Anda did a massive study called the ACE study. ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. They asked thousands of people about their childhoods. Did your parents get divorced? Was there someone in the house who drank too much? Were you yelled at or hit? Did you feel like no one in your family loved you or thought you were special? What they found changed the world of psychology. They discovered that these early experiences don't just stay in the past. They live in our cells. They affect our health, our weight, and how we handle stress decades later. But the most important thing they found was that you didn't need a big tragedy to feel the effects. Sometimes the trauma is simply what didn't happen. You didn't get held enough. You weren't told that your feelings mattered. You weren't allowed to say no. This creates the never enough syndrome. It's the feeling that no matter how much you achieve, how much money you make, or how many people like you, there is still a hole in the center of your life. You are always waiting for the other shoe to drop. You are hypervigilant, which means your brain is like a guard dog that never sleeps, barking at every shadow. The promise of this book. This book is not just a collection of ideas. It is a renovation plan for the haunted house of your body. Right now, you are likely living in anxious attachment. This means you crave love and connection, but you are also terrified of it. You might push people away before they can leave you, or you might cling so hard that you lose yourself. You might feel like an imposter in your own life, waiting for someone to realize you aren't as together as you look. By the time you reach the end of these pages, you will be moving towards secure attachment. What does that look like? It means being able to hear "we need to talk" without feeling like your world is ending. It means saying no to a request that drains you without feeling a mountain of guilt. It means choosing partners who are actually available and kind, instead of chasing people who make you earn their love. Most importantly, it means becoming the parent to yourself that you always deserved. We call this reparenting. You cannot go back in time and change the way you were treated. You cannot make a distant parent suddenly become warm. But you can change the way you treat yourself right now. You can learn to be the compassionate witness, the part of you that looks at your fear and says, "I see you're scared, and I'm not going to leave you." Meet Elena. We are going to follow Elena Rodriguez through this book. Elena is like many of us. She is a high achiever who uses work to hide her loneliness. She is currently in a push-pull relationship with a man named Mark. When Mark is close, she feels bored. When Mark pulls away, she feels desperate. She is estranged from her mother, who still finds ways to make her feel small over a 3-minute phone call. Elena thinks her problem is her job or her bad luck in dating. She doesn't realize yet that she is carrying a 7-year-old version of herself everywhere she goes. In the chapters ahead, we will watch Elena learn how to thaw her nervous system. We will see her face the abandonment wound that makes her stay at the office until midnight. We will watch her build a secure base inside her own heart. As Elena heals, you will heal too. Her aha moments will become yours. Her setbacks will help you understand your own. The journey ahead. We have a specific path to walk together. First, we have to understand the why. We will look at the work of John Bowlby and others to see how your internal map was drawn. We will explore the different types of core wounds like rejection and injustice. Next, we will move into the body. Healing the inner child isn't just about talking, it's about feeling. We will learn how to calm the vagus nerve and sweep the floors of your nervous system so you can stop living in a state of constant alarm. Then we will tackle self-sabotage. We will meet your shadow protector, the part of you that ruins good things because it thinks it's keeping you safe. We will learn how to thank that protector and then ask it to step aside. Finally, we will practice radical reparenting. I will give you a 7-step blueprint to become your own source of safety. We will look at the lives of people like artist Frida Kahlo, who used her pain to create a vibrant, whole life, and psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who found meaning in the darkest places imaginable. This is not a quick fix. You cannot heal a lifetime of survival mode in a weekend. Healing is a spiral. You will have days where you feel like a secure adult and days where you feel like a crying 4-year-old. That is okay. In fact, that is part of the process. The goal isn't to get rid of the inner child. The goal is to make sure the child is no longer the one driving the car. We want that child to be in the back seat, feeling safe, looking out the window, and trusting that you, the adult you are now, know exactly where you are going. You have spent a long time taking care of everyone else. You have spent a long time trying to be enough. Now it is time to take care of the one person who has been waiting for you all along. The carriage has already left. You aren't that little boy or girl standing alone in the hallway anymore. You are here. Chapter 1. Why do we push away the love we crave? The wine bar in downtown Austin is beautiful. The lights are low, the music is a soft hum, and the air smells like expensive wood and expensive grapes. Elena sits across from Mark, a man who is, by all accounts, a catch. He is a kind architect who actually listens when she speaks. He hasn't looked at his phone once. He even remembered that she likes her water with no ice. From the outside, Elena looks like a woman having the best night of her week. She is smiling, her hair is perfect, and she is nodding at all the right times. Inside, Elena feels like she is sitting in a room where the oxygen is slowly being sucked out. Her heart is thumping a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She feels a strange, cold itch under her skin. Every time Mark says something sweet or asks a thoughtful question about her life, a voice in her head screams, "Run." She finds him boring. She finds his kindness suspicious. She keeps thinking about her ex-boyfriend, a man who used to disappear for days and then show up at her door at midnight, making her feel like the most important person in the world for exactly 1 hour before leaving again. Her body is telling her that Mark is wrong and her ex is right, even though her brain knows that is a lie. This is the great irony of the human heart. We say we want peace, but we often feel most alive when we are in a storm. We say we want a partner who stays, but we find ourselves chasing the ones who are already halfway out the door. We think we are broken, or that we just have bad taste, but the truth is much more logical. Our bodies are not trying to ruin our lives. They are simply following an old map that was drawn before we were old enough to speak. The boys who didn't care. In 1944, a man named John Bowlby was working in a clinic in London. The world outside was loud and scary. World War II was still raging, and the city was gray with smoke and stress. Inside the clinic, Bowlby was looking at 44 children who had been caught stealing. These boys were labeled juvenile thieves. Most people at the time thought these kids were just born bad. They thought they lacked a moral compass, or that they were just naughty by nature. Bowlby didn't buy it. He noticed something strange about these boys. They weren't just thieves. They seemed to be missing a piece of their humanity. He called them affectionless. When they were caught, they didn't seem to feel guilty. They didn't seem to care about the people they had hurt. It was as if they had a thick, invisible wall around their hearts. They weren't just bad kids. They were kids who had stopped feeling anything at all. He started digging into their pasts. He didn't look at what they stole or how they lied. He looked at who had held them when they were babies. He discovered a pattern that changed the way we understand love forever. Out of the 44 thieves, 17 of them had been separated from their mothers for a long time when they were very young. Some had been in hospitals. Others had been moved from house to house. In contrast, in a group of 44 normal kids Bowlby studied, only 2 had experienced that kind of separation. Bowlby realized that when a child's primary bond is broken, something inside them snaps. If the person who was supposed to be your safe base disappears, the world becomes a place of constant, quiet terror. To survive that terror, the child's brain makes a choice. It decides that caring is too dangerous. If you don't care about anyone, no one can hurt you by leaving. Those thieves weren't stealing because they wanted bikes or money. They were acting out because they were trying to fill a hole that was left when their first connection was torn away. They were pushing the world away because they were terrified the world would push them away first. The myth of the crazy partner. We often tell ourselves stories about why our relationships fail. We use words like needy or suffocating. We think that some people are just naturally bad at love. This is the first myth we have to bust. The idea that your relationship style is a personality flaw. It isn't. Your relationship style is a survival strategy. Imagine you are a baby. You cannot feed yourself. You cannot protect yourself from the cold. You cannot even move from one room to another. You are completely at the mercy of the adults around you. Your only tool for survival is your voice. When you cry, you are sending out a signal. You are saying, "I am scared," or "I am hungry," or "I am alone." If, when you cry, someone consistently comes to hold you, your brain learns a very important lesson. I am safe. People are reliable. I can trust my needs to be met. This creates what we call secure attachment. But what if you cry and no one comes? Or what if someone comes but they are angry? What if they hold you one day and ignore you the next? Your brain doesn't just give up. It adapts. It learns that it has to work harder to get attention. It learns that it has to be loud to be heard. Or it learns that it has to be quiet to stay safe. When Elena sits at that wine bar and feels an urge to text her ex-boyfriend who treats her poorly, she isn't being crazy. She is experiencing a protest behavior. This is a term Bowlby's work helped us understand. When we feel our connection to someone is threatened, our brain goes into a state of panic. We do things to get a reaction, any reaction. We double text, we pick fights, we try to make them jealous. We do this because to our inner child, a bad connection is still better than no connection at all. We would rather be in a fight than be invisible. The biological paradox. There is a strange glitch in the human brain. We are wired to seek safety from the very people who are causing us pain. Think about a small child who gets a scrape on their knee because their parent was being careless or even mean. Where does that child run? They run straight to that same parent. Our attachment system is designed to drive us toward our safe person whenever we feel fear. But if our safe person is also the source of our fear, our brain gets stuck in a loop. We become like a person who is dying of thirst in the middle of the ocean. We are surrounded by water, but if we drink it, we only get thirstier. This explains why Elena finds Mark boring. Mark is like a glass of clear, fresh water, but Elena's body is used to the salt water of her ex-boyfriend. Because her childhood was spent trying to earn the love of a mother who was always critical, her brain has come to associate love with effort. If she doesn't have to work for it, it doesn't feel like love. It feels fake. It feels dangerous.
In her mind, her body is like a haunted house. She has lived there so long that she knows which floorboards creak and which doors don't close right.
When she meets someone like Mark, someone who is stable and renovated, she doesn't feel safe. She feels like she doesn't belong there. She is waiting for the floor to fall out from under her because in her history, the floor always falls out. Why we pick the wrong ones? Another common myth is that we are just unlucky in love. We think we keep meeting the same type of person by accident. But the truth is that our subconscious is a world-class detective. It can spot a person who will trigger our old wounds from a mile away. We don't choose these people because we want to be unhappy. We choose them because they are familiar. To your nervous system, familiar feels safer than good. If you grew up with a parent who was emotionally distant, you became an expert at reading the tiny signs of distance. You learned how to chase, how to please, and how to stay small. When you meet an emotionally unavailable partner, you know exactly what to do. You have the skills for that relationship. When you meet someone who is actually available, you don't know the rules. You don't know how to just be. It feels like being asked to play a game where you don't know any of the pieces or the goal. This is why we often push away the love we crave. We aren't pushing away the person. We are pushing away the discomfort of not knowing how to be loved. Elena's might of the ghost. Elena pays her half of the bill. She always insists on paying because she hates feeling like she owes anyone anything, and says goodbye to Mark. He gives her a gentle hug and says he'd love to see her again. Elena says, definitely. But as she walks to her car, she already knows she will never text him back. The moment she closes her car door, the silence hits her. The panic she felt at the table is gone, but in its place is a deep, heavy emptiness. She feels like a ghost. Her hands are shaking. She pulls out her phone. She sees a message from Mark saying he had a great time. She swipes it away. Instead, she opens a different message thread. It's with a man named Julian. The last message is from her, 3 weeks ago, and it was never answered. Hey, saw this and thought of you, she types. She attaches a link to a song they used to listen to. She hits send. Immediately, her heart starts racing again, but this time, it feels right. The anxiety of waiting for Julian to reply feels like home. This is the anxious avoidant trap. She is chasing the high of the chase because it's the only way she knows how to feel connected. If Julian replies, she will feel a rush of relief that feels like love. If he doesn't, she will feel a familiar pain that she knows how to manage. She doesn't realize that her 7-year-old self is the one holding the phone. That little girl is still trying to get her mother to look up from her book and say, I see you. Julian is just a stand-in for a much older story. Elena is trying to finish a task that was started 30 years ago. She is trying to win a game that she was never meant to play. The myth of moving on. We are often told to just move on, or let go of the past. This is the third myth, the idea that time alone heals trauma. Time does not heal the inner child. Only connection heals the inner child. Think of your nervous system like the wiring in an old house. If the house was wired incorrectly 50 years ago, it doesn't matter how many times you paint the walls or change the furniture. If you turn on too many lights, the fuse will still blow. To fix the house, you have to go into the walls.
John Bowlby's thieves didn't need more punishment.
They didn't need to be told to be better. They needed to understand that their walls were built to protect a very small, very scared person. They needed to learn that the war was over, and they didn't have to live in a bunker anymore. Healing starts when we stop blaming ourselves for our bad taste or our neediness. We have to look at our behaviors, the texting, the chasing, the pushing away, and see them for what they are. Tools. They were tools that helped us survive a time when we were helpless. But we aren't helpless anymore. We are adults now. We can buy our own food. We can lock our own doors. We can choose who we let into our house. The first step toward the light. The struggle to accept love is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you were once very brave. It took bravery to survive a childhood where love was scarce or scary. It took bravery to build those walls. But the walls that kept you safe back then are the same walls that are keeping you lonely now. If you find yourself pushing away good people and running toward bad ones, your body is just trying to protect you. It thinks that peace is a trap. It thinks that kindness is a trick. It is waiting for the other shoe to drop because for a long time, the other shoe always dropped. To change this, we don't start by dating better people. We start by becoming a secure base for ourselves. We start by telling that inner child, I see why you're scared. I see why you want to run. It's okay. I'm here now. When we do this, we begin to renovate the haunted house. We start to replace the old, frayed wires with something stronger. We start to teach our nervous system that it is possible to be safe and connected at the same time. Elena sits in her car, watching the little bubbles on her screen as she waits for Julian to reply. He doesn't. After 10 minutes, she feels the familiar sting of rejection. But this time, she does something different. She doesn't send another text. She doesn't call him. She puts the phone face down on the passenger seat. She takes a deep breath and feels the air move all the way down into her stomach. She acknowledges the ghost in her chest. She whispers, I know you're lonely, little one, but we don't have to do this anymore. It's a small moment. It's not a movie ending. But for the first time in her life, Elena is the one doing the choosing. She is beginning to realize that the love she craves isn't something she has to chase. It's something she has to allow herself to receive. The secret language of trees. In the deep forests of the Pacific Northwest, there is something called the wood wide web. Trees are not just individuals standing side by side. Under the ground, their roots are connected by a massive network of fungi. They send warnings when bugs are attacking. They even recognize their own children and move their roots to give them more room to grow. A tree that is cut off from this network doesn't grow as well. It is more likely to get sick. It is more likely to fall in a storm. We are no different from those trees. We are biologically designed to be connected. Our roots are our attachment styles. When our early roots are damaged, we struggle to take in the nutrients of love. We think we have to stand alone. We think we have to be strong and independent. But true strength isn't about standing alone. It's about being part of the network. The reason we push away love is often because our roots are still trying to grow in soil that was once toxic. We are afraid that if we reach out, we will find poison instead of sugar. But the forest is bigger than the patch of dirt where we started. There is healthy soil out there. There are people who want to share their nutrients with us. Before we can reach out to them, we have to learn how to heal our own roots. We have to learn how to be our own mother tree. This journey isn't about finding the perfect partner. It's about becoming the kind of person who knows they are worth being found. It's about realizing that the haunting in our body isn't a curse. It's just a story that is waiting for a better ending. Chapter 2. The Origin Story. For a long time, doctors and parents believed that children were like rubber balls. The common thought was that kids were too young to remember bad things, so those things wouldn't hurt them. If a child lost a parent or spent months in a hospital, people said, they'll bounce back. They won't even remember it happened. Everyone knew that childhood was a time of simple joy, and any bumps in the road would just fade away like a scraped knee. They were wrong. In 1913, in a bright blue house in Mexico, a 6-year-old girl named Frida Kahlo found out exactly how wrong they were. While other children were playing in the streets of Coyoacán, Frida was trapped in a bedroom that smelled of medicine and loneliness. She had caught polio, a terrible sickness that made her right leg thin and weak. For 9 months, she was cut off from the world. Her father, whom she loved dearly, was often busy or away. Her mother was strict and distant. Frida was a child who needed to be held, but instead, she was isolated. To the adults, she was just a sick girl who needed to stay in bed and get better. They didn't see the hole opening up in her heart. They didn't realize that when a child is left alone with their pain, they have to find a way to survive it. Frida did something amazing. She sat by her window and breathed on the cold glass until it turned cloudy. With her finger, she drew a door. In her mind, she stepped through that door. On the other side, she found a friend. This friend was a girl who was exactly like her, but she wasn't sick. This imaginary friend would dance with her and listen to her secrets. Frida later said that this friend was the first time she ever really felt seen. That imaginary friend wasn't just a game. It was Frida's inner child coming to life. It was a part of her that she created to protect herself from the crushing weight of being alone. She used her imagination to build a bridge over the gap where her parents' attention should have been. The 5 core wounds. What Frida experienced was the birth of a core wound. These wounds are not like cuts on your skin. They are deep patterns that start when we are very small. They happen when our basic needs for love, safety, and being seen aren't met. We don't bounce back from them. Instead, we build our entire personalities around them, just like Frida built her world around her imaginary friend. Most people spend their whole lives running away from 5 specific types of pain. These are the ghosts that haunt the house of our adult lives. 1. The wound of abandonment. This wound happens when a child feels left behind. It's not always a parent moving away. It can be a parent who is physically there, but checked out because of work, stress, or their own sadness. You might cling to partners even when they treat you badly. You might feel a primal panic when a friend doesn't text back fast enough. Your inner child is still that 6-year-old standing by the window, wondering if anyone is ever coming back. 2. The wound of rejection. This is the fear of being wrong or not enough. It often starts with parents who only show love when a child is perfect or useful. If you only got a hug when you brought home an A+, you learned that the real you wasn't good enough. As an adult, this turns into perfectionism. You might work until you collapse because you think that if you stop being useful, people will realize you are broken and leave. You reject yourself before anyone else can do it. 3. The wound of betrayal. This wound is about trust. It happens when a parent is unpredictable, warm one minute and cold the next. Or maybe they made promises they didn't keep. As an adult, this makes you a control freak. You find it hard to trust anyone because you are waiting for the other shoe to drop. You might keep people at a distance so they can't get close enough to lie to you. 4. The wound of injustice. This happens in homes that are very cold and strict. The focus is on rules, not feelings. The child is told to suck it up or be a man. Their feelings are treated as a nuisance. As an adult, this looks like a person who is very hard on themselves and others. You might have a hard time showing your soft side. You feel like life is a constant battle where you have to be tough to survive. 5. The wound of humiliation. This wound is born from shame. It happens when a child is made to feel embarrassed for their needs or their body. If a parent laughed at your mistakes or shamed you into behaving, this wound goes deep. As an adult, this often leads to people-pleasing. You become an expert at making everyone else happy, so they won't look at you too closely and see the things you're ashamed of. You hide your true self to stay safe. Finding the map in the attic. Elena Rodriguez stood in the middle of her childhood bedroom in Austin, Texas. She was 34 years old, a successful manager at a big tech company, but being in this house always made her feel like she was 10. The air smelled like lemon furniture polish, and the spicy candles her mother always lit. She was there for her father's birthday, but her mother was already making helpful comments about the snacks Elena had brought. Elena felt that familiar tightness in her chest. It felt like a heavy stone was sitting right where her ribs met. While looking for a gift bag in the closet, Elena found an old plastic bin. Inside was a folder of her old report cards from elementary school. She pulled one out. It was from 2nd grade. She had straight A's, except for 1 B in math. Suddenly, the memory hit her like a physical blow. She remembered standing in the kitchen, holding that paper. She remembered the way her mother had looked at the B and then simply walked out of the room without saying a word. No good job for the A's. Just the cold, silent treatment for the 1B. For the rest of that weekend,